I want to be a screenwriter when I'm done with college. So how can I bring Catholic principles back in the movie industry? And do you think the recent rape scandals in Hollywood indicate that this is the end of the film industry in its current incarnation? Is this the beginning of the end of Hollywood? Is this it?
The end is near. Hooray for Hollywood! Where you're fantastic if you're even good. I've gotten so much hope out of that line. Where you're fantastic if you're even good.
Yeah.
I'm reminded, my father was an actor, and I'm reminded of this would-be actress that spoke somewhere. There was a contest or something, and she won. And she said, I want to go to Hollywood and become a movie star so I can learn how to act. My dad never forgot that. He'd have us rolling on the floor with that one. But anyway, to answer your question,
which one are you going to answer? Is this the end of Hollywood?
No, we'll start with the screenwriter question.
Okay.
He wants to be a screenwriter. Well, that's beautiful. There's an old joke, and this is a little lewd. I don't know if it'll survive the censors on the top floor. But the line is, did you hear about the Polish starlet?
No.
She slept with the writer. The idea being that the least empowered person in Hollywood are the writers. That's not always true, but it's true a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So if you become successful as a screenwriter, and believe me, I wish you every success. Don't let my teasing, tell you anything else. If that's what you're aiming for, don't expect you're going to get that much room to do much of anything. But let me give you some advice. I will anyway. If you want to be a writer, young'un, make sure first and foremost that you've read a lot. Okay? And by reading, I mean these outdated things, books. You know the things they call the classics? Dickens, Sir Walter Scott, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Washington Irving, Longfellow, and poems as well, you see. Longfellow. Everything that we call the classics, Shakespeare, Moliere, Chaucer. Read them. Read them, read them, read them. Read a lot of plays, good plays. That's why Samuel French was brought into the world, so you could have an endless supply of plays to read. The first filmmakers who, not in terms of their technology, but in terms of the emotions they were able to put on screen, the things they were able to do, they were literary men. The problem with so many of our movie makers today is that they are not. They are strictly self-referential within the boundaries of cinema alone. Now, mind you, don't get me wrong. What cinema can do today through technological miracles is wonderful. But to be able to marry that to the understanding of the human condition via literature, etc., that the early filmmakers had, to bring those two together, what could be done, What could be made. Now notice I haven't even touched upon the religious aspect yet. There's a reason for this. You want to be extremely good at doing what you do, at screenwriting, or because I presume other people who think of cinematography or whatever, or film direction, film production, or maybe listening. You need to be ultra good at what you do before you can even think about influencing those around you, because they will not listen to losers. They will not listen to people who are not accomplished at what they do. Look at John Ford. He was a great Catholic filmmaker. He sometimes was a filmmaker first and a Catholic second, but he was a brilliant man, and he brought the insights that the faith gave him to human nature to the film. Imagine if John Ford were alive now and able to make films with what we have today. That'd be astonishing. So my suggestion then is that Get yourself down to the basics. Know your grammar, for heaven's sake. You know, I hate to be critical because I'm a nice person in a sense, sort of, kind of, in a way. But heavens to Betsy, ladies and gentlemen, the educational system that you young folks have come out of is sheer garbage, so much of it. And you can tell when you read things that people write. They're not grammatical. They don't know how to write. So get those basics down. Now let's presume you've done all that. Then you come to Hollywood. I'm sorry, I was just lost in contemplation of how wonderful it all is. As a cousin of mine calls it, Hollywood, the city that never lets you forget where you are. Not for one little moment. Let's presume, all right, what is the future of the industry? Well, I don't know. I don't have my tarot cards today. But does this, I think there are two things happening. One, I think that the internet and all that is really changing the nature of things, simply because, A, you guys can do a lot of stuff on your own that you need a studio to do.
Right.
So I don't know what direction that's going to go in. But we're seeing already the almost complete subsuming of television by the internet. I mean, people watch computers now. They don't look at their televisions. You know, if you are, you're likely going to be watching old channels like MeTV or whatever for whatever reruns you're incapable of finding on the internet, and you can find most reruns on the internet.
Yeah.
So probably, possibly, maybe movies will go through. You know, the big screen will be subsumed the same way. I don't know. Whether or not this particular scandal, these scandals in Hollywood today are not a sign of Hollywood's strength. Because in the good old days, they just didn't come out. You know, everyone, they're hushed up. Everyone knew where the bread was buttered. Does this signal the beginning of some great decline or whatever? I don't know. But it certainly is interesting. And another interesting thing that has not as yet come out. Corey Feldman finally filed charges in terms of his and Corey Haim's seduction. Now this you may not have heard of, but this was a big deal when Corey Haim died a couple years ago. And at the time, Feldman, who had introduced this fellow to their mutual seducer, would not reveal who he was because he said he's still a power in the industry. But now he's filed charges with the LAPD.
Against who?
I don't know. We're going to see where the shoe drops. Kevin Spacey, who you know, some people were grateful to hear that he was human, let alone anything else. But Kevin Spacey, this Taylor Grisham, the agent, Harvey Weinstein, will more heads roll, or is this it? I don't know. Stay tuned. I will say, though, that one person, one lone voice has stood up for Harvey Weinstein.
Bill Cosby.
Well, somebody had to. Someone had to take a stand. All right, great. What else we got?
One other thing. You know, from what I see in movies compared to what I see on television shows, from my perspective, it seems like all of the talented writing is gravitating toward television shows now. Would you say that's true?
That is, and I think part of the reason for that is that you have a greater freedom.
Absolutely, and you have so much more time to develop characters and do interesting things.
I mean, let's face it, I see it now with people like Netflix overcoming even the time constraints that a show like, say, The Walking Dead still has.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix are able to dump the whole thing on you. You know, 12 hours of an extraordinary show.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, a little bit of drool at the corner of your mouth, like a junkie, watching this. And it's an extraordinary deal.
You know, I actually don't like that when I haven't enjoyed, like, when something's quote-unquote dumped on you like that. I like the weekly spacing because then you sort of get to savor it.
That's because you're old.
Because I'm old?
Yeah.
What does my age have anything to do with that?
Well, because you're formed in the period you were formed in. You were formed in the pre-Netflix era.
Netflix is going to get its own era now?
Yeah.
We're living in the age of
the
Netflix?
Age of Netflix. You've arrived. And see, these kids are all about immediate gratification. They want the whole thing down. They don't have to wait for it.
I mean, it's like eating a feast in like 1 second, or letting it savor.
How do you think I got these kids? Exactly. No, but you're right. It is true that having the week between gives you the chance to savor and to think about what's gone on.
And if a show's really good and it does that, on the finale, and it leaves you with a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, how am I supposed to really go a year? Really? Am I supposed to go a year? Rather than, certain shows I've watched, one season after another because I came at it late. I love the year-long thing and the build-up during that year.
Well, in the build-up, and also, something I've missed a lot. Although there's still, every now and then, bits and pieces of it. But I do miss the seasonal program. In other words, your regular series would always have either or both a Halloween and a Christmas show.
Right.
And, sometimes they were stupid, and sometimes they were not.
Yeah.
But I had this recently interesting experience, to me anyway. The BBC, every year, because it's a big British custom to tell ghost stories at Christmas time, hence the line of the song, "There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago." Anyway, never mind. The point is, they do this, and every year the BBC produces a ghost story, usually taken from the writings of M.R. James. And this is in keeping with that particular tradition. Well, they dumped all these things, like 50 years worth, on YouTube. So I've been just watching.
Yeah.
And several of them have Christopher Lee playing M.R. James himself, telling the story to a college audience, at the turn of the century Cambridge.
Nice.
Yeah, it is very pleasant, very, very pleasant indeed. But in the course of looking at these things, I came across a very peculiar program, which was basically a Scots soap opera called The High Road, which I never saw before, knew nothing about, never heard of. It ran, I think, from like 1982 to 2004, or something like that. And this was set in 2001, 2000, the millennium.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it was their New Year's Eve special, but it was 2 hours. Now, this is a regular soap opera. It's Scottish, like Coronation Street is English, but this is soap opera. Soap operas are what they are. There's nothing...
Yeah.
And you rarely have the supernatural intervene.
Right. But I guess...
Oh man, this thing was so over the top. It was great. And mind you, the pacing was such, because obviously whoever was watching this thing immediately knew the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Yeah.
So it was all very peculiar. They
Yeah.
all had backstories I didn't know anything about. It was a weird thing, but it's all immortalized on YouTube now, so you can see it.
Excellent.
Yeah, it also brought me back a good 17 years to that special New Year's Eve, 99, 2000.